Comfort is ruining your life. This is our comfort zone. Everyone has one, including me. And we like being in it. Usually it looks something like this. Going to school or a job where we do what we do is required of us just to get by, but not necessarily more than that. Getting quick dopamine fixes throughout the day on our phones, other devices, spending weekends hanging out with the same people we've always socialized with, holding on to the same belief we've had for years and years, and failing to consider different options. Basically, it means taking the path of least resistance. Life becomes a predictable routine with no real challenges when we find ourselves stagnating. And it's easy to understand why the majority of people stay here for most of their lives. As the name implies, it's comfortable. And here, we're not pushing ourselves. At the first glance, there seems to be nothing wrong with that. Why would we voluntarily put ourselves in a position of struggle if we don't have to? But if we only live our lives in the comfort zone, we might be unknowingly doing ourselves an injustice. You see, while our comfort zone is indeed comfortable, it also has one big downside. People who are stuck here for too long don't just stagnate, they often regress backwards as well. When you're doing the same things the same way over and over, the comfort zone itself begins to shrink. The things that you were comfortable with before are now less comfortable. Let me give you an example. Someone who's socially anxious or is afraid of social interaction usually doesn't like the idea of meeting new people. Experiencing that is outside their comfort zone. So instead, they prefer to spend their time alone. If they do socialize, it's with the people they've already known well. And that's fine. But let's say that person starts to spend less time with their current friends and even more time alone. Slowly, their current comfort zone will become smaller and smaller because they don't confront their fear. The fear becomes even bigger. And even the idea of calling up their current friend group might become more difficult. So you can see how paradoxically, giving in to current comfort can lead to future discomfort. When a muscle isn't used for a long period of time, it atrophies and gets smaller because there's no reason for it to stay big. The same thing happens when we don't challenge ourselves. We become less capable of handling the obstacles that life throws at us. And this is the first reason why I try to do something difficult every day. I don't want to stagnate, and I don't want things that I'm comfortable with now become uncomfortable in the future. However, when we push ourselves and do something that is a little more difficult or challenging for us now, we leave that comfort zone. Then we enter the growth zone. This is where we struggle and we might feel a little incompetent fools, but this is exactly where all the progress is made. And you've probably noticed this yourself. When working out of the gym, you don't improve if you simply lift the same weight every time. When learning a new language, if you're not advancing if you only practice what you already know. To improve and see progress, you have to leave the comfort zone and increase the challenge. This might be increasing your weights on new lifts, or reading something new and trying to recall that information without help. Yes, it'll be uncomfortable. Yes, you will struggle. And yes, you'll probably feel like an idiot like I did. But doing anything worthwhile requires you to go through this because the things that have the biggest payoff always feel difficult in the moment. There's no improvement without challenge. Remember that. Challenge, of course, is the comfort zone. It isn't just one simple zone for everything. We have multiple zones. We might be pushing yourselves in some of them, stagnating in others, and even deteriorating in some. For example, you could be regressing backwards with your social skills, stagnating with your work, but pushing yourself to the limit of the gym. It's up to each of us to identify which zone needs more work, and it's completely fine to stop progressing in some areas if you're happy with where you are. There's no need to push yourself at everything you do, but if you're not happy with where you are, there are a few ways to go from comfort to growth. You probably have had a certain area in mind where you've kind of stuck and want to improve. There are 3 ways you can go about doing it. The first way is by doing it more consistently. Second way is by doing it more intensely. And the third way is by doing it for longer periods of time. All 3 of them will increase the difficulty of whatever you want to improve on. I think they are mostly self-explanatory, but I'll quickly go over them using running as an example. Firstly, doing it more consistently simply means that instead of running 3 days a week, you try to raise it to 4. Since you're doing it more often, it becomes more challenging. But this also helps consolidate the behavior that makes it more likely for you to do it in the future as well. Secondly, do it more intensely, meaning you do a more potent version of what you usually do. This might mean like running something new, like sprints or running up a hill. Basically, instead of running 60% capacity, bump it up to 90. This also adds variety and actually helps make the activity more fun because you're not only doing the same thing every time. Thirdly, do it for longer periods. Simply spend more time doing it whenever you decide to do it. So if you usually do a run for 20 minutes, now bump it up to 30 minutes instead. Basically, you push yourself and persevere through just a little bit longer than you normally do. Simple as that. And all of this can be applied to pretty much any activity. Learning a new language, anything. Do it daily, maybe even multiple times a day if possible. Increase the time you spend learning by 15 minutes and use active recall along with spaced repetition to remember more. Try and improve your social skills. Consistently put yourself in environments where social situations might occur. Try saying an extra sentence every time you find yourself in one, and be the one who invites people out. All of these three methods are a good way to move from comfort towards growth. But depending on the area you're working on, some of them are more useful. For example, if you're trying to learn an instrument, you'll find that it's actually better to play every day for 10 minutes than it is to play once a week for one intense hour. Also, you shouldn't necessarily use all three methods at the same time, as it might be too much work too fast. Instead, you might want to pick one. Once you're ready, expand from there. But more on that later. Now, as I mentioned, most of the gains in life come from short-term discomfort. With that being said, sometimes it's difficult. It doesn't automatically mean it's good. Breaking your leg might be uncomfortable, but I don't know of any possible results that might have in the long term. The area you want to be uncomfortable in has to have some sort of long-term benefit. Studying something, for example, makes you feel stupid in the moment. But because you absorb new concepts, you get smarter over time. Eating healthily and resisting sugar might be difficult, but it's what allows you to get in and stay in good physical shape. Saving money instead of splurging on a brand new pair of shoes might be hard, but if investing properly and given enough time, it'll make you wealthier. So these types of areas are where you should actually push yourself. The ones with short-term pain but long-term gain. And the second reason, what I try to do is something difficult every day. Even though it might feel uncomfortable at the moment, I know that my behavior will pay off in the future. And only by entering the growth zone and pushing myself, and I'm able to reap those long-term benefits. Danger zone, okay then. So why don't most of us leave the comfort zone who's clearly beneficial to do so? Well, that's because there's actually a third zone. If someone were to push themselves too far out of their comfort zone, they might get past the growth zone and go straight into the danger zone. This is why we feel uncomfortable in the first place. There is such a thing as pushing yourself too far. After all, if you exercise too much, you might injure yourself. If you work too much, you might experience burnout. And discomfort is actually a very useful alarm, preventing you from getting hurt, such as an injury that might set you back further. So it makes perfect sense why most people stay in their comfort zone. They want to avoid danger at all costs. But unfortunately, a lot of people, when they're looking to make a positive change in life, go straight into the danger zone. One of my friends is like this. A few years ago, he wanted to improve his physical health. With newfound motivation, he joined the gym, made a commitment to lift weights 5-6 days a week. He also vowed to start a strict diet, not eating anything, no sugar. And within a month, he was back to the routine of sitting on the couch, watching Netflix, and stuffing himself with cookies. Like most people, he took on too much too quickly. And this is a very common occurrence when people try to leave their comfort zone. However, failing to stick to a plan isn't the worst part. The bigger issue people now have is that because they fail at keeping up with their high expectations, they also feed their belief that it's entirely impossible for them to change and grow. Because of that, they don't even bother trying to improve themselves in the future. In their minds, they are failures who shouldn't try again. So, what's the solution here? How do we make getting out of our comfort zone easier so we can operate in the growth zone, but at the same time avoid the danger zone? Positive change requires moving beyond our comfort zone, yes. However, nowhere does it say that it all has to be done at once. back to the baby steps. A far more effective method is to go about it gradually in small, manageable steps. After all, if someone has been completely sedentary and wants to begin exercising, it doesn't make sense to start intense weightlifting for 2 hours, 6 days a week. Their odds of success are far higher if they just begin with something they're capable of doing, like having a light gym session 3 days a week for 45 minutes. And only once they're able to push past that, do it a little further. Remember, if you're unable to commit to a small change, how can you expect to commit to a big one? Just something to think about. Another benefit that comes from doing it gradually is you'll create a positive feedback loop. Since you're actually able to do what you set out to do, you give yourself evidence that you can indeed improve and change. And this proof is progress. Even if it's small, makes you feel real good and more confident in your abilities. This in turn fuels persistence to push through more challenges further down the line. Basic success starts to feed on itself and you keep pushing further out of the comfort zone. Also, when you get into a positive feedback loop, going in one area tends to slowly spread to other areas. And this is the third reason why I try to do something difficult every day. Whenever I'm able to do something outside of my comfort zone, even if it's just by a little, it kickstarts this positive feedback loop. And just like falling dominoes, success fuels further success. That being said, you shouldn't push past your comfort zone all the time. When I say do something difficult every day, don't mistake this for me trying to expand in every single area on a daily basis. I may be pushing myself in 1 or 2 areas, but during that time I return back to my comfort zone in other areas. This allows me to maintain my current zone, but also get sufficient rest and recovery. Without rest, I would probably burn out. Yes, over time you want to grow, but you also want to give your comfort zone time to catch up for your new demands. This will help you, and change your belief, and you'll start to understand your comfort zone is getting bigger. You'll expand in your comfort zone by doing things difficult, but you don't keep expanding indefinitely. Instead, you start feeling too overwhelmed. You lower the difficulty and retract only slightly above what your comfort zone was before. This allows you to get used to the new layer, and your new comfort zone catch up to your new demands, which prevents you from burning out. Only once you've adapted to the new demands and you feel like you're ready to improve again, you push past your new comfort zone. Just like before, once you feel it's too hard, you retract slightly above the previous point. Essentially, you're consistently challenging yourself, but also coming back for air when it's too difficult. And you can repeat this process when you reach the new level that you want to be in. Another way to look at it is to think about the comfort zone as a place of temporary refuge, but not as a permanent residence. As you can see, the point of this video isn't to overexert yourself until you can't go any further. Rather, I'm trying to convince you to find a worthy challenge in hopes of bettering yourself at things you care about. Unfortunately, and I've been one, a lot of people give up the first taste of failure or discomfort and never see what they are actually capable of. If you never pushed yourself to your limit, how could you know where your limit is? Only those who consistently push past their comfort zones and embrace the struggle are able to reach their true potential. So I encourage you to do something today that you find slightly more challenging. Read a few more pages of a book, do a few extra sets at the gym, learn some new words. Try to do something difficult today, and I assure you that you'll become better than yesterday. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like this, be sure to hit that like button. Your support means a lot to me, and it helps my channel grow. Thanks for watching until the very end. More videos are coming, and I hope you like this in the next one. Please subscribe, like, and hit the bell icon for more videos for a better life. Thanks for watching and being part of the we. Love and light, my friends.